Is Batman your new boy toy? I have one too.
Stay away from her.
You heard my Superman. Lover. Kill them.
We manipulate the plot. It obeys our command. I can make a turn on you. Become your worst enemy.
Good try, but no.
I can tell you, as a player that likes to be in control, there will be times when your target will make their save. When you won't beat SR, when your attack will miss, or when there's just not a viable target on the field. But control is a high-risk, high-reward style. If you do it right, if you work the odds and have a bit of luck, you'll be able to shut the enemy down long before they pose a threat. Before I get into some of the classes that favor the control playstyle, I want to talk about what exactly your goals are and how you go about accomplishing them. Control is about limiting your opponent's actions. There are two major types. Type 1 is target control. This is where you select one target at a time. If you can continue the effect and move on to another target, that's fine, but this is really a one customer at a time approach. Target control is typically achieved with things like spells, such as Hold Person or Hideous Laughter, or combat maneuvers, like Grapple or Trip. Type 2 is crowd control. You can do this either directly or indirectly. Direct crowd control is typically achieved through things like class features, such as the Bardic Performance, or spells like Bane or Hypnotic Pattern. How you achieve indirect crowd control is typically through changing your environment. These are with things like Fog Cloud or Wall of Ice. Alright, now let's get into some of the classes that you should think about if you're planning on playing control. Starting with Sorcerer. There are two bloodlines that I think give you really excellent control options and power. The first is the Fey bloodline. This gives you a +2 bonus to the DC of any enchantment compulsion sub-school spells that you cast. You also get an ability called Laughing Touch. For a number of times per day equal to 3 plus your charisma modifier, you can cause a creature to burst into laughter for 1 round. This requires you to make a melee touch attack. The laughing creature can only take a move action, but they can still defend themselves, so they're not completely helpless. The Fey bloodline gives you bonus spells like Entangle, which is a good environment control spell, as well as Hideous Laughter and Deep Slumber. For a pure enchantment build, the Fey bloodline is fantastic, but if you're interested in doing something a little more necromantic with your sorcerer, I would recommend the Dark Fey bloodline. This bloodline dovetails really well with gnomes, especially dread gnomes. Dread gnomes have a racial trait that gives them +1 to the DC of necromancy spells that they cast. Finally, the Dark Fey bloodline replaces Laughing Touch with Fey Fascination. This allows you to fascinate a creature for 1 round per 2 sorcerer levels that you have. This is a mind-affecting illusion effect. The next class you should think about is Wizard, starting with the Illusion School. An Illusion School wizard gets an ability called Extended Illusions. Any illusion spell you cast with a duration of concentration lasts for an additional number of rounds equal to 1/2 your wizard level. You also get Blinding Ray. This allows you to blind one creature within 30 feet as long as it has fewer hit dice than you have wizard levels. You might also consider the Enchantment Controller sub-school for wizard. This sub-school gives you an ability called Force of Will. This allows you to sense the thoughts of any creature you have charmed or dominated within 60 feet. You also get Irresistible Demand. This allows you to cast Dominate Monster for a number of rounds equal to your wizard level. You get this at 8th level. Another class with a lot of control potential is Druid. Starting with their spell list, you have things like Entangle, Obscuring Mist, Soften Stone to Earth, Spike Growth, and Wall of Thorns. All of those allow you to apply different effects to the area around you, making it more difficult for the enemy to approach. They also have targeted control spells like Heat Metal, which can potentially disarm opponents, or Contagion, which can give your enemy all kinds of nasty diseases, like Blinding Sickness, which gives a 1d4 strength penalty and potential blindness, obviously, or the Shakes, which gives a 1d8 dexterity penalty. Now, if all that wasn't good enough, you also have Summon Nature's Ally. Not only can you tie up enemies with your summons, you're also able to use those creatures' abilities, such as summoning a wolf and having it use its trip ability, or a giant ant using its grab. Finally, you have the powerful Wild Shape if you want to get in there with your bare hands, which should be the hands of an actual bear, and grab, grapple, trip, and constrict every enemy that dares to get in your way. Next up, we have Monks. For martial classes that do control, Monk is second to none. First off, there's the incredibly powerful Stunning Fist. If you can land this hit and the opponent fails their save, a stunned creature cannot take actions, they lose their dexterity bonus to AC, and they take a -2 penalty to AC. This can be absolutely devastating. They are stunned for 1 round, and you can do this for a number of times per day equal to your monk level. Next, monks are great for combat maneuvers. Things like trip, grapple, disarm, and dirty trick, all of which can impose nasty status penalties or render your opponent helpless. Finally, monks have easy access to the Scorpion-style feat tree. The first feat, Scorpion-style, has you make an unarmed attack against an opponent. If they fail their save, their speed drops to 5 feet. The next feat in the tree is Gorgon Fist. This staggers the target of Scorpion-style. Finally, Medusa's Wrath. Whenever you take a full action that makes an unarmed strike, you make 2 additional unarmed strikes at your highest BAB. The target must be dazed, flat-footed, paralyzed, staggered, unconscious, or stunned. Next, Witch. Control is one of the things that the Witch is very well suited to. Some patrons you might consider for a Control Witch are Aurora. This gives you bonus spells such as Color Spray, Hypnotic Pattern, Wall of Nausea, which is very fun, and Rainbow Pattern. You might also consider Jinx. This gives you Ill Omen, Shatter, Bestow Curse, and Retribution. The Witch also has some fantastic hexes that you can use over and over again without worrying about running out of ammunition. Hexes like Beast of Ill Omen. This allows you to afflict the closest creature to your familiar with Bane, as long as they're within 60 feet of your familiar. You also have Evil Eye. The target takes a -2 penalty on either AC, ability checks, attack rolls, saves, or skill checks. This lasts for 3 rounds plus your intelligence modifier. Now, if they make their save against Evil Eye, this drops the duration to 1 round, but you do get something out of it. Finally, there's the incredibly powerful Misfortune Hex. For 1 round, the target must roll 2 d20s on ability checks, attacks, saves, or skill checks and take the lower result. Also, Misfortune can be extended with the Cackle Hex. Finally, let's talk about the Mesmerist. Starting with the Mesmerist Stare. Your Hypnotic Stare will cause a target to take a -2 on will saves. This will increase to a -3 at 8th level. There is no save against your Hypnotic Stare, and you stare as a swift action. As you level, you will add Bold Stares. This is an added debuff on top of your Hypnotic Stare, such as Disorientation. This adds the hypnotic penalty to attack rolls. Timidity. This adds the hypnotic penalty to damage rolls. Or Psychic Inception. This allows you to affect mindless or immune targets with mind-affecting effects. The Mesmerist also has some great Mesmerist tricks, such as Mesmeric Mirror. When the subject of this trick is attacked, you can create an illusionary double of the target, and the attacker randomly determines which one they hit. There's also Fearsome Guise. when the subject of this trick attacks a creature, you can make an Intimidate check to demoralize that target. Finally, you could think about using Levitation Buffer. This allows you to lift targets adjacent to the subject into the air or push them away with a Bull Rush attempt. This Bull Rush is calculated using your Mesmerist level and Charisma modifier. Finally, the Mesmerist has a lot of powerful enchantment spells, such as Hold Animal, Hold Person, Dominate Person, Hideous Laughter, and Suggestion, all of which your enrapturing eyes will make it so much harder to resist. Now that we've gone over a few of the classes that work well with the control style, let's talk about stacking the odds in your favor. First off, your stats. Whether you're doing a combat maneuver or casting a spell, those are going to be affected by at least one of your ability scores. So it's important to buff them before you take these actions. Spells like Bull Strength, Fox's Cunning, or Eagle's Splendor are very valuable to you, because they'll raise those all-important DCs, or increase your bonus to maneuvers. And obviously, prioritize getting items that enhance your ability scores when you get the chance. There are also many feats you should consider. If you're a spellcaster, think about Spell Focus and Greater Spell Focus. Each of these feats will increase the DC of one of your schools by 1, so that's a total of 2 per school. Also, there's the Heightened Spell Metamagic feat. This feat increases the effective level and thus the DC of the spell that you're modifying, unlike most metamagic feats which don't affect the spell level at all. Finally, combat maneuvers. Combat expertise is a prerequisite for a lot of the combat maneuver feats, so it's a good idea to pick that one up early. Then go on to get the improved and greater versions of combat maneuver feats when you can. These will grant you bonuses to the maneuver itself and remove penalties. As an example, Improved Trip will give you a +2 to trip attempts. And you don't provoke attacks of opportunity when attempting to trip, and you get a +2 bonus against being tripped. Greater Trip gives you a +2 stacking bonus, bringing you to a total of +4 to your trip attempt. And your target provokes attacks of opportunity when tripped, so you and your friends can get some easy hits in. Thank you for watching the D6 Damage Control Class Guide. If you're interested in more strategy guides, character builds, and more for Pathfinder, check out D6 Damage on YouTube or BitChute. Also, if you want to take your game further, join the D6 Damage Discord, which is full of discussions for both players and DMs, covering a wide range of topics.